call tonight's meeting to order. Tonight time is now 6 p.m. Roll call, Tina here, Joanne
Here.
Nicole
Here.
Danielle
Here.
Stephen.
Here.
Moving on to number 3, before I ask for a motion, I would like to make sure that we focus on tonight's agenda and not go off topic. Can I get a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Seeking a second.
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
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 Any nays? Moving on to 4A, insurance benefit proposal.
Thank you. Just to open this up a little bit, I recognize that some board members taking the lead was trying to get us scheduled, knowing the importance of this renewal, this annual renewal. We have a deadline on November 15th when we have to really inform our carriers. And so we started this, but really weren't scheduled, to make sure we had board meetings set up. And so we regrouped, put this on fast track, did an analysis with the assistance of some board members to really digest this down to some possibilities here in terms of given a significant rate increase proposal that we received, that we would be looking at a potential change with the carrier or with somebody else. So we digested this down, we tried to summarize this, we have a presentation, and so Ali will review this in terms of what we've covered to what we are recommending that you consider. I did ask Tina in terms of setting another meeting aside in case we had to do additional follow-up, recognizing the significance of this. We've also reached out to staff, knowing that we want them in a ready state, even though it's not a decision, that administration or staff are making. It's a decision that we are presenting to the board for consideration and action. We wanted to, as much as possible, get people ready for that. And so we'll report on that briefly too. So I'm going to turn this over to Ali and kind of walk through the proposal in terms of how we digested this down to coming to a recommendation for you to consider.
Thank you. Thank you.
I like seeing things. It's just really good.
Don't need my glasses.
I was thinking the same thing.
So good evening, everybody. This presentation is the exact presentation that we ran staff through. We met with teachers on Monday and then support staff on Tuesday. The first thing we did was we wanted to celebrate our staff. We have done a lot of marketing around which type of medical service staff should be using depending on the situation, right? Running to the ER right away is not always the best scenario both for the type of service that they'll receive and the cost that they'll incur during those visits. So the WPS report that we received actually showed a decrease of use of ER visits by 16.5%, so that's huge for us. Also, since getting Healthy is You, staff are really utilizing it, so we saw that staff are not using the WPS Teledoc Medical Services, which charges $65 per visit. Instead, they're using Healthy as You, and we saw a decrease by 23.8%. Our rep, Ken Sastre, said that we are the poster child for Healthy as You, just because of the increased use and how staff have valued that benefit. And we see that the year-to-date savings on Healthy as You is $44,822 right now. And the primary usage is general medicine. We reminded them to keep using Healthy as You and all the options and the services that are available to keep maximizing that benefit. And then we looked at some missed opportunities. We did see that under WPS, there's a 76% increase under telemedical behavioral use. Although staff will always have the option of using those types of services under their insurance or Healthy as You, we just want to inform them that those services are available at zero cost through Healthy as You, and when they do that, it doesn't hit their claims and the district's claims, right? So again, just make informed decisions based on the situation and the needs that need to be addressed. We continue to inform our staff on what we receive for our renewal negotiation and our loss ratio. We were informed that our loss ratio increased from 82.87% to 96.55% for this school year. And then we went into explaining what a loss ratio is to put it into perspective. going further into saying that when we have a 96.55% loss ratio, it indicates that WPS is paying out a significant amount of claims relative to the premiums, and therefore leading to premium increase, which resulted in WPS first offering a 23% renewal increase. Our rep, Ken Sastro, negotiated down to 19.8. But in our budget, we had only budgeted for a 7.5 increase for health insurance, which means that 19.8 is not an option for us at this time. We then looked at the examination of options, and that cover recommendation sheet showed that we had 15 options presented. When we analyzed that, we looked at the different factors that involved, which included the financial impact on the district, the financial impact on the employee, the coverage plan structure, and then coverage plan changes overall. What in-network doctors are available, what services would be covered, prescriptions and plan add-ons. So the two vendors that we ended up landing with are WPS and WCA Group Health Trust. WCA Group Health Trust provides access to United Healthcare Choice Plus network. Prior to WPS, we were actually with UHC or United Health, so some of our veteran staff remember being under that carrier. We reminded them that all plans will stay as high deductible health plans, and that in every scenario, the premiums will go up. We did not have an option this year to just keep things status quo. So I started by reviewing what we currently have in order to lay that foundation of what this would look like. So we reviewed that currently under WPS for the 2024 year, we had a single deductible of $2,000, a family deductible of $4,000, and a 0% coinsurance. That meant that once you meet your deductible, you also meet your out-of-pocket max. Then we put into perspective on what this meant financially, and ensure that we highlighted that the district covers currently 92% of the health premiums. Again, as a way to show value to our staff. So you can see the yearly amount, the broken down totals of the 92.8, and then the payroll contributions that they see directly coming out when their payroll is processed. Additionally, if an employee has an emergency or a medical situation where they have to reach their out-of-pocket max, we compile the totals for them to understand that in those instances, which may not happen, this is the maximum that they would spend for health insurance services in one calendar year.
And that's including their premium?
That's including their premium. So that is from January 1st through December 31st, all right, for 2024. Moving to the 2025 options, we did have one option from WPS, and these are the changes. It does increase the deductible. It does change the plan structure because now a 10% co-insurance amount is added, and it does increase the out-of-pocket max. What remains the same is obviously the carrier. We would stay in-network with the negotiated rates of WPS and the plan add-ons of WPS. And this option is within our budgeted amount of 5.94%, which still reflects an increase in premiums, right? So when we compare this to 2024, we can see that the premium comparison per payroll is actually not that bad. It is yearly for single, it would be an increase of $54.67. For family, it would be $124.28, and then you can see the breakdown in employee contributions. When it really hits the impact is when we look at the total employee cost comparison if the employee reaches their out-of-pocket max. Because of that increased deductible and because of that increased out-of-pocket max with the co-insurance, there's a significant increase that is then placed on the employee to absorb. Any questions so far? The pace is okay? Perfect, I appreciate that. When we look at the WCA option, we see that the carrier changes. Now, we were shared with by Ken that because it's on the United Health Choice Plus network, it covers all major hospitals, including the ones that are listed here. What remains the same is the plan structure, the in-network plan structure, which means that singles $2,000 for the deductible, family $4,000 for the deductible, and 0% co-insurance, meaning that the deductible will be the same amount as the out-of-pocket max. We did share with staff that with a change of carrier, there will be some services that might not be covered in network. That includes potentially some mental health services that are in network under WPS may not be under WCA, and the same thing for chiropractic services. Additionally, the negotiated discounts that WPS has with providers may be different than the negotiated discounts in the WCA. And I just gave the example. If you go to your primary care doctor right now and they charge you $150 under WPS, under WCA they might charge you $120 or $200. It's something we have no control over. It is the negotiated discount from the insurance carrier to the medical provider that will change. Prescription prices might change, we don't know, and plan add-ons will definitely change. Currently, WPS has a no-cost drug list, a $0 drug list. WCA would provide a $0 drug list, but it might be different. All the medications might not be the same on both. Additionally, WPS offers a vision discount coverage, not a vision insurance, but a discount. That will no longer be the case under WCA. There would be no active and fit. All those little add-ons would not be available anymore under WCA. Again, the increase, there is an increase. It is 7.4.5, and it is within our 7.5 budgeted amount. When we look at payroll contributions, again, we see that this annual change is slightly higher. If you look all the way in the bottom in that difference, for single, it would be a difference of $68.42, and for family, $156.07. And then the payroll contributions obviously reflect that as well. But when we look at the total employee cost comparison, if the out-of-pocket max is reached, this is where we see the large difference, where because the deductible remained the same amount, because the 0% co-insurance remained the same and the out-of-pocket remained the same, the only change that the employee would really take would be that change of premiums, that slight change of premiums. And they would only absorb the 8% of that change of premiums at this time. Questions regarding health? Great. Moving on to dental. There are no changes to plan design under Delta Dental. And there's this like 2% increase under dental, which when you see the pay period changes, it's very minimal to that. And then we didn't anticipate any changes on the following list of benefits. We wanted to demonstrate to our staff the robust offerings that Bristol puts forward for our employees, including the percentage contributions between district and employee for the health insurance, the HSA contribution, the cash and lieu amounts, the Delta Vision insurance that we don't expect any change to the plan or premiums, the 403B contributions, the long-term disability, the life insurance, the supplemental AFLAC offerings, and the 2025 Health ASU program, which is currently paid under a grant, fully under a grant. Which is the grant called?
It was called Get Kids Ahead. It's now just called Mental Health Grant. And we have a healthy balance of $40,000, so this can be carried into 2026.
Excellent. And I always forget what it's called now, so therefore I give the mic over to Sue. And then we just share next steps, the fact that based on when decision is made, it will impact benefit open enrollment dates, so therefore we're not ready to share that information, but the final decision would be brought forward to the board today. And that regardless of whether they are taking benefits or not, we are going to move forward with scheduling their benefit appointments that every employee is required to attend, schedule, and make to select their benefits, even if they're not taking insurance and even if the insurance selections are staying the same. And every year we do a benefit package for them, and then we will continue to do so. And then we just did Healthy As You, reminders of all the different services that Healthy As You has to offer. So that is the entire presentation.
And then that comes back down to our recommendation is the one that we thought was reasonable for the district and least impactful from a risk standpoint for our employees. Now, I would say other things that I would like to have when you're considering something like this, health insurance is part of your total compensation. So I would previously, or I would prefer to have also available to you, so that it's really right in your mind, how our employees compare to other employees with other districts. You know, compensation to all the benefits. It's my understanding that our benefit package is better than most districts that we compare ourselves to, if not, okay? So again, I'm generalizing here based on, without having information in front of you, but I always would ask you to consider all these factors in making a decision here. So again, we're recommending something that we've digested. There's a lot more to consider there if you wanted to go back. We felt that they were really, for the most part, quickly off the table. And again, we had some assistance from a couple of board members, which I really appreciate. But I think these are things that you really need to plan for and prepare for and prep people so that you are in a ready state to do this, both staff and even though there's a short window, when this information starts coming available, we probably should have, already had this meeting, and time to digest. But, again, it's challenging because I'm trying to figure out, where you're at, what you've done in the past, and how to
Yeah.
assist moving things down, forward.
I have a question. So you had a staff meeting. Did they indicate which one they would rather have?
I've had
Yes, we
3 of the veteran staff saying, UHC, we don't mind going back to UHC.
Well, it's not UHC
It's fine.
carrier, it's just
Right,
their network.
they have no issues. They do want to take a look at the formulary, and they want to take a look and see if their providers are a network.
Okay. Nobody else offered any,
They don't want to pay the higher deductible.
so they, yeah, okay.
And there are some good follow-up questions, again, in terms of this is what's nice when you get lead time,
Yeah,
because there were some questions about vision and
Emergencies.
it's emergencies, and,
How to
so that gives you a chance to make sure you're not missing something as we're advancing something.
this is why this is so disappointing, because as you know, in June, I started saying, Sue, the minute you get this stuff, let me know. And we had the meeting for October 4th that you canceled and rescheduled to October 17th. And then when we met on October 31st, we're in a mad dash because we're running out of time. To find out at that meeting, you had all of this September 16th. That's terrible. I mean, we need to be better at, the minute we get it, start planning. This is an important benefit for every employee here, whether they're on it or not. They might need to get on it. They want to know. We need to make choices and decisions that impact their families. So I hope that in the future, we get those, I'm not sure who, I believe Sue got it, September 16th.
The issue was we didn't have a district administrator to talk this over with. We couldn't set up a time to meet with the district administrator, whether it was Jim or Jack, at a time that was mutually convenient with the insurance reps.
So it was a
that's,
full month,
that's how
though.
things got messed up.
You see, though, we lost a full month before the first meeting on this.
Yes, we did.
So this information is fantastic, by the way. I mean, to put this
This is very
information
well done.
together, in the last couple of weeks, is tremendous. Can I just ask, Ali would probably be the person to ask. I mean, the current contentment with the current program, WPS, where do you rate that on a scale of 1 to 10? I mean, we've had that in play for what, about 3 or 4 years, I believe? 4 years?
2 years.
2 or 3
Just 2 years for WPS?
Yes. On my end, the customer service has been great in helping resolve any sort of individual employee issues. I do want to credit Ken and NIS for that as well, though, because at times we have had to have them intervene, and they did so timely and followed up as needed. So it's always that partnership, right?
Right.
It's finding the right resource to get the information you need as timely as possible.
The teachers and staff, how are, I mean, you're,
I mean, changing carriers is stressful.
yeah.
Changing from UHC to WPS was stressful.
Mhm.
It is not something that people are excited about and will never be excited about.
Are you gonna have enough time if that would be the route that we go? Would you have enough time to do that?
Yes.
And actually, can I just say to Stephen's point, our meeting to hone this all down was October 31st. So for you to put this all together and be able to explain it to staff is amazing. You
And
just
I would-
shouldn't have to do it that way under a fire
And I
drill.
would say that the staff from Body Language was very appreciative.
Oh, good.
You know, in terms of, I think, you know, again, Ali has done some phenomenal work in terms of anticipating where people will be at to answer the questions before they're even asked.
Yeah.
And
I
then
didn't
again,
notice that.
you know, one of the things that we like to do is try to digest it even further, so you know what we're recommending. You know, obviously, the more lead time we give you, the better everybody is at.
Right.
You know, and it would be something that we would continue to work towards.
So you know, so right now, I believe that the numbers are, we have 21 people in single insurance, and 36 people on family. So if you multiply out family, maybe an average of 3, you're talking 120 people or so that are taking advantage of the benefits in one way or the other. You know, one of my biggest concerns with WCA is the chiropractic and the mental health. What feedback have you gotten from that standpoint? Because again, I think that's a major change when you're asked to potentially change your doctor. So I don't know what feedback you've got on that. I mean, that's my biggest
Absolutely. So,
concern and risk.
I have received requests regarding finding a way to check if providers are in network. We did send that information at 3:30 p.m. this afternoon. So again, I'm trying to pull and compile information in a way that we do something called a Tango that actually screenshots the steps.
Oh, nice.
So it's a step-by-step guide. So we send that out this afternoon and churning it out around as quick as possible to address any questions. Again, when we went from WPS, from UHC to WPS, there were quite, maybe 2 to 3 staff members that stepped up, and we supported them through that transition because of their specific situation. Some of the staff members have already contacted me, and I have reminded them we will do this together. We would leverage our resources, like Ken and his team, to get that done, so that we know what we're facing and we know the process and we know it ahead of time so that we can be prepared for it. As much as I appreciate the questions that you're asking about how staff is feeling, it is very hard for a group our size to have leverage when discussing health insurance
Yeah.
and when seeking options. We are seen as high risk. WPS last year went down from 16% to 4.5. This year it was 23 to 19.8. I don't know what next year looks like for us. I know we're focused on this year, but
And-
what does next year look like?
And there's other options that are out there that were even introduced to us now, like a cooperative or a mixed cooperative. But again, the more time you have, you start examining that, you have a better sense of the risk. And right now, that would be way too risky that we would even, attempt. So we, put that aside. But again, trying to create that awareness of what are those things and what can you do before you get to that point in time to have us all processing through this.
Well, and I think, you explaining the loss ratio, right? When a company is spending almost every dollar they're collecting,
Mhm.
and I'm not saying feel bad for them,
No.
but they're in business to
Make
make money.
Yeah.
Correct.
So if they're not making any money, they're gonna increase your premium. So if we can offset that use using Healthiest You,
Correct,
which also has mental health,
correct.
you can't do chiropractic, teledoc.
No, we can't.
But, that might actually help, and if people understand that, if you're using that as much as you can, and it's not impacting the loss ratio on your health insurance, it's possible to get a 0 increase
would go
next
down.
year.
Potential. That's always the goal, right?
Yeah.
Now, we understand that things happen.
Sure.
We also don't want to, put any negative feelings on our employees that have to use their health insurance for whatever situation.
It's there to be
Absolutely
used.
not, yeah.
Exactly. But what we do take very seriously at Bristol is taking opportunities to educate our staff on how to maximize their benefits, including such as what is a pre-authorization form. Let's talk about that, or let me give you information regarding that. If you have questions about specific issues, who do you contact?
Right.
How do you get access to the information you need? How do you prepare yourself if you know something is coming? Or in case of an emergency, what do you do? Again, I give a shout out to, Ken and his team. They have been extremely responsive. And Ken will also tell you, I push hard. Because we have to be here to do what's best for Bristol and advocate for our staff.
For
And
sure.
provide the best total compensation package that we can to attract and retain.
And we've also had the conversation of recognizing that we have to be good fiscal stewards of public funds. So recognizing all the things that you recently went through with an operating referendum, keeping things in context, because it's more than just our employees that will look at what we do, in terms of what types of costs are recurring, do we do due diligence? All those things are very important in terms of understanding what's at risk here. So again, I'm appreciative also of what we've been able to turn around here in a short period of time, but we even set another meeting in case we needed to do any follow-up.
So just to back up again with my question, was there a mass group of people that said, I don't want to change carriers and I don't want to pay more. I'd rather have the co-insurance and a higher deductible and stay here? No?
I do not
No
get that
response.
sense.
Okay.
Again, the question is, when can I see who's in network? And we
Oh.
provided that today.
Good, okay.
One of the things also that happens, and this is again in terms of where we work together to help people understand, but we did have a couple of questions that come in and almost as though the staff could influence the board. They try to create the stage, to the extent that,
Well, this is important.
this is an
Yeah.
important decision, that's why the lead time is again beneficial. But I thought we did a good job, in informing, this is a board decision, it's a financial decision, as well as a retention position, wanting to make sure that we're competitive and that people feel like they're valued and we're doing everything we can to find that equilibrium, in terms of where everybody sees, this is all fair to everybody, all the stakeholders.
So the employees were able to check their doctors if they're in network or not in network?
I send that information today at 3:30.
Oh, I see,
So-
okay.
At
The-
3:30.
My next question
Really
was, how
the-
did it go?
the
Now I see
only-
3:30.
The only real question, and correct me if I'm wrong, but from our meeting, the network of, and I know this United Healthcare, United Choice Plus, has all the doctors and hospitals. If they take any of the PPOs, they're pretty solid there, except mental health has a smaller network and chiropractic has a smaller network. It's not that it's not covered,
Correct.
and
Even if they're affiliated with those hospitals?
chiropractors aren't
Aren't
affiliated
they though?
with hospitals,
Yeah.
sorry. But, so, which is why you pointed
And
that
high
out. And
demand, so
there
they
may
can be
be
more,
some-
they can market their services in different ways that.
Yeah, yeah. But I've been to several chiropractors and they either take insurance or they take $45. So, not to lock in every chiropractor at 45, there's usually an option. So if the majority of the staff is good with making a change,
So we can't base it on that, because ultimately the decision rests with us. In the
the
future.
dollar amounts are the same.
Yeah,
Pretty close.
in the future, if we were to consider like co-op options and things that were maybe a departure from the traditional model, I would certainly want to get staff feedback and survey and that type of thing. I'll just, my 2 cents would just be, I really appreciate how you formatted the information. It was easily accessible. On page 30, I love that you you don't have to turn there, but I just love that you anticipated the major hospitals, because Children's was my first, as a parent, that was my first question. Last year when we went through this process, I was pretty adamant and vocal, and I was thankful that the board moved forward with absorbing the extra costs and maintaining the deductibles where they stood, because that's a huge piece of if healthcare is accessible. Because to your point, even if a provider, and I'm a non-practicing mental health therapist, and it would be horrible if you had to change the therapist. However, if your max deductible doubles, you may no longer maybe go even with that therapist because of your max deductible, if that tracks. We also have the online options as well. So I guess all that to be said, I feel like I'm leaning towards the WCA option because the max out-of-pockets I think are criticals for family. To move up into $4,500 plus premiums is, well, it's a criminal system as far as making healthcare something that's for profit, but that, we can't solve that here.
It is,
Yeah,
sadly.
it's, and it makes me very apprehensive that we'll go into next year and we don't know. You know, WCA might give us a great introductory deal and we don't know what our loss ratio will be as they calculate our renewal. So that's, gives me apprehension, but all we can focus on today. So I would lean towards the WCA option. I'd love to stay in network within our budget with WPS, but I would think that the employee impact is too big. So that's where I stand on that.
I'd agree with you on that.
That's where I was as well.
Thoughts?
I just wanted to make sure there wasn't a mass amount of people that said,
Right.
I love WPS and I don't want to change.
Yeah, and I think, Joanne, to your credit, you brought that up at our first meeting, that, you were concerned about moving away from WPS. And I guess that's my only concern, the risk reward here. You and me being fairly thorough, I did go back and look at what the 19% increase would cost us. And again, I'm not saying that that's the direction that we should go. I just, for my own sake, I wanted to take a look at that. Because obviously we do want to invest in our teachers and staff, and we want to make them as comfortable as possible if we decide to move from WPS to WCA. On the other hand, I don't know what the risk is. That's scary to me, especially in our current state at Bristol. So, I worked up the numbers with the 19% increase. If you look at the 19% increase versus WCA, you end up with a $136,000 difference. Now, the $136,000 difference would get broken up into the 24-25 budget, 6 months, and then the 25-26 budget, 6 months. So for 24-25, it would be a $68,384 expense. Do we want to take that on? Maybe, maybe not. Again, I think we have to think about the risk. If we do take that on, the fund balance would still be at $3,482,730. So don't hold me to that exact penny, but we would still have a fund balance of 31.2% for 24-25. On 25-26, we'd have to take on that $68,384 expense again, which we'd have to work into our 25-26 budget. And to your point earlier, Jim, I think Ken certainly did a good job of explaining the self-funded and level funded. And so for 2026, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't get a group together starting in spring, Joanne, and determine whether or not we can go that direction, because that could definitely save us money. And then the other thing that you have to look at is, not only is it affecting the district, but it's affecting the teachers and staff as well. So for a single, for a year, it would increase their contribution by $182. For a family, it would be $414. Which
Are you
That's what the
saying,
current-
are you saying keeping the current plan?
correct.
They're-
If we kept the current plan
It
at
still
19%
results in a
increase.
premium increase.
Right, so
Yeah.
they get the premium
Yeah.
increase single of 182 and a family of 414. Now, one thing that I would consider at that point is proposed an increase of the HSA of $250 for the single, $500 for the family, which then would make them whole. So actually, we'd have we absorb the 19% increase. That HSA increase, according to my numbers, based on who we have, would cost the district another $11,625 per 6 months. Now, do we want to take that on, or don't we want to take that on? I would love to hear some more feedback tonight in a future meeting. I think though this is a third option that we should consider somewhat.
Well, I think the problem is that we have just adopted a budget that included 7.45. So we don't have it in our budget, and we were trying to get mirroring benefits without much impact, or changing the benefits to increase the deductible to stay with the current carrier to still keep really good coverage and not much premium impact for the employee. So based on everything here, I too agree, unless people were adamantly opposed about changing carriers, I think WCA is the way to go. We can't forecast health insurance for the future, there's no way.
You know, I think the bottom line was that higher deductible, unsolicited responses in terms it's okay to switch,
Yeah,
because they don't
Well,
want
that's-
to put themselves in that risk. It's almost like,
right.
you know, health insurance is there, you might not even need it. But
Right.
if you do need it, you want to know what that risk is in terms of how much might this cost me.
So I think it would be really, really helpful for the staff and Ally to have a decision tonight.
I-
So I also have Ken here, he's joining
Oh,
virtually,
okay.
he's been listening in, and he has a few comments. So Ken, you are unmuted, feel free to share your comments.
I guess I don't really have much to say other than, thanks for letting me chime in here, but I just want to comment on the network piece. The United Healthcare's Choice Plus network is the broadest network in the state, hands down, and it's not close. They also have a national rep network where members are going to be able to, get actual acute care or just traditional care, non-emergent care while traveling, while out of the country or while out of the state, students off in college, whatever it may be. So it is a really nice network. The mental health piece and the chiropractic I share just because you don't want to just be in a circumstance where somebody goes, I thought everyone was at network and I found this out. The mental health piece is across all networks. Mental health providers are leaving networks. So there very well could be a mental health provider in network with UHC that was not in with WPS, or maybe they were in with WPS, they are not in with a UHC, or maybe they've left both of them. So that is happening across networks. It's not unique to WPS or to United. And the chiropractic piece, I thought I heard someone mention, $45. Most, myself included, I have UHC Choice Plus as my network, and I just pay cash at the chiropractor. Not that everyone wants to do that, but typically you get a better deal than when they run it through insurance. And those, happen occasionally, but UHC has a very broad network on the chiropractic side. So I guess high level, what I would say is you're going to have more providers in network with UHC than you do now with WPS. So that's just a pretty blanket statement there. So I understand folks want to know and they're looking up their providers, but at the end of the day, United's network is going to be far more broad than anyone else in the state.
Thank you, Ken.
And I guess the only other thing I would say, just so people know, when we put together these materials of going to the market, so the renewal came in from WPS in the middle of September. Carriers in the state of Wisconsin will not bid on fully insured business without having the renewal in hand. So we were not able to get your plan out to market to get rates released until they receive the renewal. And then they take 2 plus 3, sometimes longer weeks to respond to the RFP and provide us all the options that we're looking for. So, there's certainly a delay there. One thing I would say from our team's eyes, and we argued with WPS, and it didn't really go anywhere other than a 23% down to a 19.8. We felt pretty strongly over a 24-month period and 80% something loss ratio last year, which we negotiated that down good into the single-digit range. And I understand running a little hot this year at 96, but over that at 24 months, we didn't think we were gonna be seeing anything in the 20s. I was anticipating something in the mid-teens to be able to then negotiate, right? So our goal is to always try to renew you with the incumbent carrier. The unwillingness to play ball at this point, plus what I feel is a pretty competitive offer from WCA Group Health Trust, just led us to this point. So anyway, with that, I'll be quiet. Thanks for the minute.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Ken, appreciate it.
Just to acknowledge Steve's work on this, I would say I appreciate you putting it together. I wish it was a viable option. I think it's a natural consequence of not having the flexibility because of the referendum. But given the options that we have, I think that they're both good options, but I wish this was viable. I echo that point, so, but thank you for putting it together. So, I'm gonna make a motion to approve the WCA option.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion carries
Thank you
5-0.
very much.
Thank you for all your
Thank
work
you.
on this.
Thank
This was a great presentation. And thank you, Ken.
Pull up, of course.
All right, moving on to, looking at number 4, they're all good there. Moving on to 5, convene into closed session. Can I get a motion to convene into closed session?
I'll make a motion to convene this session.
Seeking a second.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any nays? The board will convene into closed session to discuss and take action if appropriate under Wisconsin Statute 19.85 Sub 1 Sub C concerning employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which a governmental body has jurisdiction or exercise responsibilities. 19.85 Sub 1 Sub F financial, medical, social, or personal histories or disciplinary data of specific persons, preliminary considerations of specific personnel, problems, or the investigation of charges against specific persons except where paragraph B applies, which if discussed in public would likely have a substantial adverse effect upon the reputation of any person referred to in such histories or data or involving in such problems or investigations. In 19.85 Sub 1 Sub G, conferred with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy, I can't say that word, to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or likely to become involved. Take a couple minute break
Yeah.
And then
Go
we'll
to
have-
LGA.
and then head down to the LGI room.
And 3.
All right, so we are ready to go back into open session. We get a motion to go into open session.
I'll make a motion to move back into open session.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Right?
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Time is now 7:39, and I will make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting. Seeking a second.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Right.
Any nays? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.